Welcome tonight. Now, I've just pulled up. Hang on, I've still got the engine on. Right, the engine's switched off. I've been sitting here just kind of keeping warm with the engine on until you cut live to me. I'm not in the northeast tonight, so why am I here? I'm going to tell you the whole thing. It involves death. It involves mystery. It involves the number 7. But most importantly, it's about poltergeists. Not just 1, or 2, or 3. It's about 7 poltergeists. It's about a place that's had exorcisms without success. It's about a place that the Christian church have walked away from. It's about a place that has left a man dead and someone else with a burst appendix in a place where the dead fight back. So I'm here tonight, and you and I together are going to walk through the darkness, side by side. You're going to be with me every step of the way. I don't know what will happen. I don't know if anything will happen. Maybe it won't. But we're going to play it straight as a die. No tricks, no trims. You will get it as it happens. The next 4 hours, I'm visiting a place that the family who live here call Hell's Pit. And I want to find out why. Alan Robson, let's go. You with Alan Robson. But you know, when you come to places like this and you're sitting on your own, and I've been waiting for a little while because I'm going through a gate. At the present moment, I'm actually parked in kind of a tunnely area that's directly across the road, and it belongs to a local post office. And it's where the post office vans come in and park, and they dump all their gear for this area of South Yorkshire. And that's where I am tonight. And I'm just going to kind of stay in the car because I've got to wait for a key to be turned, because the family, because of what I intend to do tonight, are getting out of their house, and I don't blame them. They're getting out of the house. They're going to leave the land and the house to me. Now, we mentioned at the top of the show that this is a place where people have been hurt, and it's true, they really have been hurt here, and you're going to be hearing that story before I go to what's considered to be the epicenter of this whole experience. And people keep saying to me, it's not the dead that can hurt you, it's the living you've got to watch out for. I bet a few people, when talking about all things ghostly, have probably said that kind of thing. It's the universal put-down for any of us who have seen spirit and have felt either a power or a touch. And I suppose it's designed to reassure the cocky and the arrogant who think they know it all. My experience of life in general, and not just to do with ghosts and spirits, is we don't know very much about anything. So before I came down here, I thought I'd do something very simple, and perhaps something that hasn't been done too often. I thought I'd have a look around the world and find out if the dead can hurt you. Seems a sensible thing to do. Well, in Ontario, in Canada, the haunting of the Dag family is a famous story that came to a peak in 1899. The young daughter had a pigtail almost ripped off, whilst their little boy told them, "It pulled my hair out. I was screaming, but it wouldn't let go." Mrs. Dag thought the boy to be exaggerating until she looked at his head. 5 separate clumps had been ripped from his head, leaving it bloody and sore. In China, in Nanking in 1876, 300 people were chased by what they all described to be dark, shadowy demons that actually pursued them down the street. Some of them were scratched, kicked, some of them had their hair and pigtails ripped from their heads. One man was clearly seen by almost 100 passers-by being swung around by his hair and thrown under the wheels of a wagon. The day before, a family tomb had been desecrated and knocked to the ground. I think quite a few of you will have suffered a thing called the night terrors. In the Western world, that's what we call it, a sensation of your chest being crushed while you're lying in bed. You're unable to scream and conscious that a dark shadow of something is standing over you. Well, in the latter part of the 19th century, this began happening all the time in Shanghai, and it caused a panic. One woman was found dead in bed, every single rib in her chest shattered, puncturing her heart and lungs. Within a single month, there were 11 other fatalities, including a 4-year-old baby. One woman even watched her husband being murdered by a ghost. She told authorities, "My husband was a big man, yet this ghost held him to his bed. I saw it surround him like a dark cape over him. He screamed, but I couldn't hear him. He ate his own tongue. I saw the blood and I ran for help, but when we got back to him, he was dead." But it was that look on his face I'll never forget. They say the dead can't hurt you. Around Christmas in 1922 in England, dozens of police reports about a burglar who'd been breaking into people's homes and hacking off their hair. One woman awoke to feel herself being held down by a shadowy figure. Her long brown hair was hacked off by tremendous force. Once again, hair. The man then stood up and disappeared in front of her. Her hair was gone too. Talk of ghosts at that time was universally lampooned until it happened to a police sergeant's wife, and he was watching while it happened. He was so shocked he was unable to talk for 8 days. The wound to his wife's head required 11 stitches. Bishop James Pike was trying to get over his son's suicide in 1969 when one of his female helpers woke to find that much of her hair had been burnt from her head. Almost a month later, a clump of it mysteriously appeared on the bishop's bedside table. If you want more proof, the records of Charing Cross Hospital in London. They've got details of a stab victim brought in on the 22nd of October 1922. He was the first of 3 wounded men who all said they were in Coventry Street and had been struck down by something. When the police asked them to describe their assailant, they all said, "I don't know, but it wasn't human." One man died of his wounds, swearing on the Bible, "The dead came and killed me, now I'll be one of them." So the dead can't hurt you. Yet in France, as far back as 1623, families refused to move into the quarter of the town known as the Marais du Temple. This followed a number of unexplained deaths, none of which were ever solved. 23 strangling incidents, 4 men hurled from windows or roofs, 8 mysterious drowning in bathtubs, 5 having their chests crushed, and 2 men who had their eyes torn out of their heads. In each case, witnesses claimed to have seen dark shadows swooping around them, literally driving people from the area. The local records declare, "No one will reside in this quarter lest they should be driven out by the invisibles that infest the shadows." So is it just in France and England and Canada? It can't be that common. I mean, the dead can't hurt you. Yet in Germany, a man called Klaus Mahler was shot and killed by a musket ball to his chest in 1913. The bullet did not puncture his clothes going in or coming out, yet was found in the wall behind where his body was found. They only discovered that it had shot him during the post-mortem because the skin was unbroken. In Japan in 1890, a poltergeist began attacking and slashing people in Tokyo. The term "an invisible" was becoming more widespread, and this Japanese entity was responsible for over 50 cuts and wounds on people's necks and arms. Sometimes people would feel a slash and then look at their arm to see it just open in front of them. Several cases, they were cut literally to the bone. Now, as you know, a while back we did a live broadcast on the Venetian Lagoon on the plague island of Poveglia. In 1998, just prior to us going there, a young boy visited the island with his parents, who hoped to purchase the island and build a hotel. Within 20 minutes, he fell to the ground with a gash across his face. It punctured and tore out his right eyeball. He didn't see his attacker do this, but he's now blind in one eye. Also, in Italy, 5 women were out collecting sticks near Ventimiglia in the northern part of Italy when one of them suddenly fell dead at their feet. She'd been laughing with them seconds before and was always only a few feet away from them. Her clothes had been shredded. The wound on her head was so terrible that the bone from the skull had been clearly exposed. Her intestines were torn out, lying in a heap next to the body, some up to 6 feet away. All of her internal organs were ruptured, ripped, and torn. Her lower body and intimate areas were peppered with deeply stabbed incisions, as if a sword had pierced her. The flesh on her thigh had been peeled away, so that the pubic bone was exposed, and both legs jolted out of their sockets. It was as if her body had been attacked violently and had somehow exploded. And then Poland. The most engaging evidence of spiritual attack comes from Poland. It's a story of a lass called Eleonora Zugun. It happened in 1923. And this one is proven and it's caught on film. She kept being attacked by vicious phantoms. So she allowed herself to become part of an experiment. She sat naked in a glass room. Scientists were sure that the girl's lies and deceit would be found out. Instead, they clearly saw grey, shadowy hands grasp her neck and almost kill her. While she was being filmed, teeth marks appeared on her arms and breasts. She was pushed, pulled, dragged by her hair, and even spat on, yet the glass booth where she was completely empty. 5 independent witnesses, all non-believers, saw their own arms beaten at least 24 times and bruised, teeth marks appearing on their necks as they watched the child suffer. The marks left was a clear impression of a palate. In some cases, spittle dripped from it. So you think, well, it's all a long way away. What about Scotland, then? For over 100 years, visitors to Edinburgh's Greyfriars Cemetery have encountered an active spectral presence that's often chased them away from the Covenanters' graveyard. Hundreds have been injured to one degree or another. Exorcists have even died there following their unsuccessful attempts to remove a violent poltergeist. In 2001, a girl was scratched down both cheeks and had handprints on her upper arms as the spirit threw her to the ground. A TV crew from America, from Phelps Family, captured the incident. The area of Greyfriars is now closed off, yet noises and screams can often be clearly heard from that area of the cemetery. Jimmy De Bruin worked at Farm des Tunes and became the epicenter of poltergeist activity in August and September 1960. The police took part in active investigations of this man, as he was not known for making up stories. They placed him in protective custody, and yet whilst they heard screams of pain. So Police Chief John Vessels and 3 of his men raced in to see De Bruin writhing in pain. He was wearing only shorts on top of his bed, and they could see slash wounds opening up the flesh on the man's legs and chest, and they could do nothing to help him. The following day, while sitting in the hospital surgery, a doctor watched as a wound opened up beneath De Bruin's white shirt without anything puncturing the cloth. The wounds were clean, as if made by a knife or a scalpel. Medics confirmed it was impossible for the man to inflict them on himself. Local believers said that De Bruin was being tortured by the dead for his bad treatment to people who'd worked for him. And in the United States of America, in Menominee, Wisconsin, 1853. An amazing story. 15 people saw a very strange and bizarre incident unfold in front of their very eyes. A young girl was standing looking in a store window with her mother when something grabbed her and sheared off all of her long hair. As the hair fell, it disappeared, leaving a bald and highly distressed child. The New York Times reported a poltergeist shooting on the 8th of December 1931. The captain of a German tramp steamer called the Brexsee had docked at Horsen in Jutland. The guy had returned to his vessel as a storm began to come in. Surrounded by a dozen of his crew, a 4-inch wound just opened up on the man's forehead, and he fell to the deck. One witness said it was like a massive bullet wound from a gun fired at close range. But there was no noise, no gun, no gunman. And yet, during the post-mortem, a bullet was removed from his brain. The Phelps family from Stratford, Connecticut, suffered a nightmare at the hands of disturbed spirits in 1850. Their 12-year-old son had attracted the attention of a number of dark, shadowy entities that could often be seen in the nearby woods. A visiting Reverend Father Thurston studied the boy in depth and reported how stones would be thrown at them both by invisible hands. He'd also seen the boy lifted so far off the ground that he hit his head off the ceiling of the living room, gashing his head. The boy was picked up by invisible forces so often, he was known to say when it happened, "Oh no, not again." He was once dropped from such a great height that both of his ankles were fractured. He was thrown in a water tank, hurled in a river, pushed into a pig pen. And one day the Reverend invited local dignitaries to witness the phenomena for themselves, because throughout the county rumours were rife. As soon as they arrived, they saw the boy playing in the yard, and suddenly, in front of all of them, and they all saw it, the boy was lifted up into the branches of a tree, hanging in midair as invisible forces tore his shirt from him. Some of the visitors ran from the farm, others fainted in shock. That boy was so troubled, he ended up taking his own life. It was happening 3 and 4 times a day, every day. So they say that the dead can't harm you. Well, I have an amazing story for you, and I've travelled the length of Tyne, Weir, Teesside, North and South Yorkshire to get to this place. I'm saying it's South Yorkshire. It's actually just not, but the family are very paranoid that people will find out, because a few years ago a television programme featured this place, and for about 1.5 years they had crazies climbing over the walls and trying to get in and running about. And you will understand that that just added to the misery of what you're going to find out about. This is horrible. And what makes it most horrible is it's completely real. And we're just going to find out what's here. Alan Robson, when midnight is the most important time. Because at midnight, the family who live in this house will have been here exactly 7 years. And the number 7 has some kind of significance here. I'm not fully sure why, but it's just one of the things that we're going to find out together, you and I. I'm going into the dark next. Welcome back, and thanks for coming back relatively quickly. I'm still in my car, I'm still under that little bridgey thing, so you're going to hear a little bit of clumping about. That's my car. I'll remove key. Okay. Oh, hang on. Right, okay. Removed it. Bossy car. Hang on. I've got to put the kit on my shoulder because it's actually quite heavy. Got to take my keys with me. Oh, right. I'm out of the car. As you can hear, I'm under a bridgey area. And don't know this area at all. I'm banking that it's safe enough. Just stick my keys in the pocket of my coat. I must admit it's a little bit chilly even under here. And yet the place that I've got to go, I'm told, the quickest way is to go through this little side gate, and then you're out. And this leads up to an area where you can get onto the property. And this is interesting, because it should be just along here. Oh, there it is. Now, what has happened here? You're about to find out. Now, the way in, I'm told, is through this gate. They said they were going to leave it unlocked, but what I have to do is physically lock myself in. Now, the family said they're going to be coming back round about 2:10 in the morning. They'll not be any later than that. And there's lots of kind of vines just hanging down over the gate. And lots of kind of spidery things, and you can feel the gossamer from the spiders now. Through this gate is the most active place in Britain. I've got no doubts about that, and it's quite simple to prove. Day in, day out, things happen on the land through this gate. So on the night of Halloween, what would be better than to open it, right, go through. Now, they've got the key. I haven't got the key to this gate, but they've told me to padlock it so that nobody can get in while they're away. Let's just, hang on. Not good with lock. Hang on. There you go. So, can't get in, can't get out, and that's it. We're on my way. Now, got tales to tell. I've got to give you an idea of what this place is all about. As I say, the name of the family and the hall will not be given, and you'll find out why soon enough. The drive apparently stretches for about 1.5 miles. Let me tell you what I can see. Behind me there's like a lodge keeper's cottage. There's a tree that it looks like a hawthorn that's to my left hand side, and there's still a few berries on it, and it's strange kind of craggy and spooky angles in all directions. You can still hear the road behind me, the occasional car going down. It's a little bit of air, freezing breeze. I don't know whether it's just kind of psychological, but directly behind me, when I was on the other side of the gate, it felt kind of warmer. It's really got a chill over here. But imagine you're looking for a new place to live, and due to bereavement in the family, you've got £400,000 to spend. At first you look at the range of new builds. You'd probably do that in your area for something that an estate agent's window catches your eye. It's a stately home in its own grounds, and yet the purchase price is that of a quality, decent 4-bedroomed house. So you think, well, what would be the harm of taking a look at that? Sounds like a bargain. As I'm going up here, some of the trees just kind of cut right in front of you. And I've got to walk up, I'm told, kind of right up to the house. We're going to have a quick look around the house first, and then we've got a few things to see. These tree things, sometimes you don't see them till you're right in front of your face, because it's pitch black and I can't see a damn thing. I can see the house where there's been like an external light left on miles and miles and miles ahead. The blackness everywhere else is pretty thorough. And so the family booked an appointment to set off and have a look around. The standard of the house was absolutely amazing, and it looked worth more than double what they were asking for it. Not only that, there were a few acres of land, including a copse of trees on the other side of the woodland. I can see it ahead of me. It's where the land goes completely black, and what little light there is from the sky, and let's face it, the scant enough at this time of year, just kind of disappears. So beyond the copse of trees, on the other side of the woodland, there's a small family cemetery. They gave all that a brief look, but they were hypnotised by the beauty of the hall, and it's fabulous. There's a tower on the right-hand side that spreads right the way up to the sky. They kind of built battlements around it. It's not a castle, but they've made it kind of look like a castle-y, stately home. So they were still on the drive when they decided they were going to ring the estate agents and make an offer, and that's exactly what they did, and within 30 minutes it was accepted. In fact, the vendors... Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Movement to the right hand side. It was almost like a bush kind of moved. Just caught some kind of movement there. Now you presume it's bound to be an awful lot of wildlife here, so it's probably just that. Just made me jump because like a whole bush kind of moved, and you'd think if it was something low down like a rabbit or a... I'm just going to walk over to that area and have a brief look. Can't see anything. Can't hear anything. So anyway, they're halfway up the drive, probably where I am now, when they're ringing the estate agent to put a bid in. After the paperwork was sorted out, within 4 months the family were in the new home and loving it. They didn't have enough furniture to show it at its best, but that always takes its time, doesn't it? So the family consists of a mother, a father, a 15-year-old daughter, an 8-year-old son, and a 5-year-old little girl. The first few months saw them thriving and the children playing in private woods, the long lawns that's off to my right-hand side here, and racing along gleaming corridors in the hall. It regularly crossed their minds that they'd picked up an absolute bargain. They couldn't fathom why anybody would choose to leave such a place. You can imagine visitors coming to a place like this in a car. They would think it's the most impressive and imposing building they've ever seen. Couldn't believe that their houses probably cost more than this stately home. Just then, the first irregularity occurred. The family, not believing in ghosts, call each incident an irregularity. It helps... Oh, jeez. What the... Oh, a really straggly branch across the drive. This isn't the car drive. There's like a car drive round the back. This is where you walk up and you're kind of hypnotised by the house and some of the straggly branches of the trees that you're walking by. It's an absolute nightmare. I'm bleeding a little bit on my brow. I got a scratch. Jeez, didn't like that at all. So, what happened? Whoa! You must have heard that. Two massive thumps just to my right-hand side. I could have sworn there was something kind of thrown in my direction. Just bear with me a second. My eyes are wide open because there's so little light, and you feel little flies kind of getting in your ears. Something scuttled across the path as well, but it was only little. It's probably something like a mouse or stuff all over us. Whatever was in the trees kind of fell on us, little kind of spidery buggy things, and probably a few aphids as well, which you could live without having investigating your little places. Anyway, let's get up this drive. Hell's bells. They said it was a long walk, and we're discovering that, so let's keep going. So why the hell was this house so cheap? A friend of the family was a history teacher, and he was fascinated by the place, and he spent time in the small cemetery logging names so he could check them out. And when he was there, he began to feel ill and sick to his stomach. He would vomit uncontrollably. He put it down to food poisoning, tidied himself up, and just as he was leaving, he had just turned towards the house when he was slapped hard across the head. How are you then? You made a noise. You made me jump. You want to cuff us one? I'm banking that it won't. You can hear the town, which is now probably about a quarter of a mile behind me. So, He was hit with such force, his head actually banged off a tree. Splinters of bark cut into his brow, and he spun around to face his attacker, and there was nothing there except what he described as a heat haze, like you would see rising from a motorway on a hot day. And it looked like there was something, but he couldn't quite make it out. Back at the house, the family put his condition down to the few drinks that he'd had over lunch. He knew he was far from drunk, and as they pulled out the spelks from his head, he began to shake. Did you hear something squeaking there? Just heard something kind of crying in the distance. Didn't sound animal-y. Kind of high-pitchy, screamy. 100 yards into the blackness, I'm looking straight ahead. To my left-hand side, the tree line is starting to begin, and you can see the first 2 trees in what little light there is here, and then it just turns into a wall of blackness, absolute blackness. So anyway, after pulling all the spelks out of his head, he raised the subject of ghosts with the family, and they all affirmed that the house had a lovely, gentle atmosphere, and there was definitely nothing of that kind. 3 weeks later, the mother began to feel very low and swung into an unpleasant depression for no reason at all. During the night, she was heard talking in her sleep about people that she was with, and she was talking in her sleep in an old-fashioned accent. Well, the police down here in this part of the world are sounding in the distance to be as busy as most. So come the morning, she had no clue about the night before. In fact, she denied having any kind of dream. That morning, when they came down to the dining room for breakfast, the 8 chairs were in a stack piled up to the ceiling. They called for the children and chastised them for doing something. These chairs could have fallen on them or anything. But the kids all looked puzzled, because they hadn't done anything. Why would they? Little unexplained things were beginning to happen on an increasing scale. The vacuum cleaner switched itself on. It wasn't even plugged in. A shirt jammed itself between the blades of the conservatory ceiling fan. TV channels would change. Volume would... the whole thing would blast for no reason. That's part of the reason why I'm here. But the reasons get darker. Now, right next to the house, a very sturdy tree to my right-hand side. And I'm actually at the house now. I'm standing directly beneath one of the huge towers. You can probably tell I've stepped off the gravel. I'm now on a sturdy path. Now, what I've got to do is actually walk around the house. Just around here, but a bit more gravel. Got to walk right the way around the house to this bit, and gee, that's a horrible thing. I hate it when that happens. You know, you just walk past something and you get a bit of cobweb across your face, and kind of breathing it in. Absolutely nasty. However, it's actually around here. I'm told that there's going to be a door. There's a door around here somewhere that will have a key. Oh, hang on, there's tree bits here. There's thumpy noises and hang on, a bit of overgrown stuff here. Completely overgrown. Here we go. And the door should be just around on my left-hand side now. Alan Robson. We're doing a bit of genuine investigation. I've been asked to come here today, and you'll find out the reasons why very, very soon indeed. It's another one of those huge, thumpy kind of sounds. I hope you picked that up. Just happened to my right-hand side. But the door that's said to be open is here. Oh, hang on. There's like a boot wipey thing. It might be a bit claggy. I'll just clean my feet. The light is on directly behind this kind of glass window with wood trim. And on the glass part, because it's the only light for miles and miles and miles and miles, there's, joking aside, there's 300 to 500 to 1,000 to 2,000 insects just clamming up against this window. So I'm going to hopefully try not to let them in, but... Oh, I'm in. Shut the door behind you. I'm going to lock it. Now, the house belongs to me for tonight. At the present moment, I'm in a I've brought a few bugs with me as well. Let's see if I can do a bit of swatting. Oh, horrible, horrible, horrible. I'm in the main reception room. There's a grand kind of hall thing here, going through a room into this area. From the reception room, I'm now heading into a place where I can tell you the story of Hell's Pit. It's beautifully, the decor in here is beautiful. This is the official welcoming area of the hall. To my left hand side there are kind of tiles down on the floor here, lush carpet when you get across to the other side. Directly ahead of us there's a huge staircase that goes up on both sides. There's a room through the middle, but to both sides you can climb the stairs. It looks very, very, very elegant. Beautiful curtains hanging down with drawstrings. Cabinet just off to my left here with lots of kind of glitzy and ritzy china in there. And here am I. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to sit on the steps, on the stairs that lead up to the corridor, so that I can tell you a little bit of why I'm here. Because later on tonight I've got something amazing to do. Something, nothing quite like this has ever happened on British radio at all. If this comes off, this will be quite something. My arms are all goose pimply. Don't know whether that's because of what happened outside, whether it's the bugs or because I am feeling loppy, frankly. However, come back to me in a tick. We have the story of what the family describe as Hell's Pit. Now, I'm actually in the house. So is the house the haunted part of tonight's trip? Well, we'll find out soon. Welcome back, Alan Robson with you. I'm still sitting on the stairs just kind of getting my breath, because let me tell you what happened. Electricians were called to the house when all the electrical stuff was going off. They found it in perfect condition. There was no explanation to any of the unusual surges, blackouts, and on 3 separate occasions, various family members saw what they described as streaks of electricity flashing in darkened rooms. One day, the mother and the eldest daughter followed a perfectly circular ball of light from the living room up to the bedroom, where it changed shape into what seemed to be a small woman. Then it disappeared. The following day, a leading local churchman was called in, a canon. It was actually the canon who taught me in the early days how to be an exorcist. Now, he was forced to admit that the house had something living here. He was so frightened himself that he went to say, in fact, I would say there are more of the dead in the house than the living. Now, this canon is one of the main exorcists for Northern England and Scotland. He blessed the house room by room and hoped that this relatively simple practice would sort out the disturbances. Yet, although the house seemed to be peaceful, a postman delivering a parcel was knocked to the ground by a grey shape on the doorstep of the hall. And this led to the local newspaper featuring the story. That in turn brought local TV cameras to the house. That in turn brought national TV cameras to the house, which in turn brought American television cameras to the house. The family hated the intrusion. They'd tried very hard to deny that anything was present on their land. And within a few months, it was all forgotten. But by then, hundreds of people had climbed over the walls. People had actually camped in the woods and down by the small cemetery. Now, that was a few years ago. The house has been for sale ever since. They lived in this house comfortably for 6 months. Then for 6.5 years, the house has been for sale because of what happened. The house, as far as I can tell, and certainly the canon believes, the house is clear. I certainly have no feelings of it being anything other than that. But the land around it is considered to be steeped in spirit. There are things here. So, what brought me... I tell you what I'll do. Let's have a walk around the house so that we can check, see if there is any sign of anything here. I can tell you the story because while we kind of go along, let's go through... I tell you what, let's go upstairs. Let's go up the stairs. So just along from here, there is... what's in here? Cloakroomy kind of place. Lots of fine ornaments and big statues of tall kind of leopardy cats that are about 8 foot tall either side of the staircase here. There's guns on the wall, old-fashioned flintlock pistols, some swords. There's also an old gramophone here. I wonder if this works. How weird would it be if I could make this sucker actually burst into life? Especially in a place that's got so many stories. There's papers and all kinds. What have you got to do with this? Just bear with me a second. I think you have to kind of put a 78 on and then... Hang on. Right. Where's the needle? What about this? I think I'll be the judge of that a bit later on. Fantastic. A fully working, strange habnab. Or whatever it is. There's photographs of the family here as well. But I promised that we would be heading upstairs. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Enough of this. So, the house has been clear. Switch the light off there and head up the long curving flight of stairs with kind of wooden balustrades. Right, so what brought me to travel all this way when the house is clean and there've been no disturbances in the house for half a dozen years? Well, the family friend... Where am I going? Oh, one of the bedrooms here. Let's walk into the bedroom. Pine or natural wood floors anyway. They look very old and in keeping with the house. I hope they don't mind, but I'll sit on the bed. The family friend who was the historian found out about what happened, and to suggest it was unique is an absolute understatement. Prior to the current family moving in, the previous family had 7 deaths and none of them peaceful. In fact, the house had been for sale for 7 years before the current owners bought it. Now, they've lived here for almost 7 and they've been trying to sell it for all but 6 months of that time. On getting to the house, they have to go straight inside, otherwise they get pestered with whisperings, cries, unseen things swear at them. Even me just walking up the drive, I heard some noises, there was some movement in the bush, could have sworn I heard some whispering as well. The children can't play in the gardens out here, especially the woods, and no one will go near the cemetery. Those that have tried have been assaulted, pushed, made sick, and on numerous occasions physically chased out of there. In May 2007, I met with that lad, the teacher, the local historian. His name's Phil, he's a nice guy. He gave me a dossier on the family who lived in this place. More importantly, on the people who are buried in the cemetery. There are graves there, and no one knows who they are. They've got no names. There's 21 of them, in 3 groups of 7 surrounding an underground tomb. The tomb houses 7 bodies, and none of them died of natural causes. Now, the number 7 is an ancient sacred number that is said to yield the most power. And that's why so many consider it to be their lucky number. It's not by chance when people say, oh, what's your lucky number? You say 7. It's because deep in your memory, decorating your DNA, the deep-seated knowledge of centuries ago reveres the number 7. Those of you that feel that and have never known why might just be needed at a place like this. The tomb is locked. It's been locked since 1977 when the last body was placed in it. The land here has been blessed by priests, exorcists, spiritualists, Wiccans, and in 2002 Satanists were brought here to try and remove whatever's out there in the grounds, with disastrous consequences. Instead, it just stirred things up. Instead of calming the energy, it stirred things up. The canon returned, having been hugely successful in the house, and yet despite his great skill and years of expertise in this area, he was not able to make any headway. His note to me in May 2007 read, "Whatever infests this place is not Christian, and therefore do not respond to my urgings and direction. It may be a place that you can suggest someone to visit, unless you've got time to pay to call yourself. In my 35 years, I haven't come across a place that's charged with negatives." Now, this isn't the hall, because he'd already cleared this hall. He's talking about the land outside. The family have told me that I could call in anybody. They even suggested bringing in a demolition firm to dig out the tomb and take the bodies away. As well, you know, that would be disastrous for everybody on both sides of the divide. So, do you have a name, number, and email for anybody that can help? I send my God's blessings to you and yours and look forward to hearing from you. Now, that's from the canon, who, to be quite honest, I hadn't even seen or heard from, other than the odd Christmas card, for years. In August this year, a friend from Leeds who works in the field visited the estate after I asked him to. He'd been here 20 minutes and felt unwell. He was so unwell, he got out as quickly as he could, and in the car on his way home, his appendix burst. He was taken by ambulance to hospital, where, to be honest, they were lucky to save him. He was my main contact and a believer in the old ways, and I was quite shocked to hear what had happened to him. He's still ill. He caught MRSA in hospital, like everybody seems to do. He's been home only 3 weeks, but thank heavens he's set to make a full recovery. And now in the interim period, I asked 3 ladies from one of the local spiritualist churches round here to go and see for themselves. Yes, admittedly, they are Christians, but they're a tad more open to wider things than many God walkers, and they didn't hesitate. They also called in a local lady called Joyce Jones, who's a psychic. She wanted to go with them, having worked the platform at a lot of churches around the country. On the morning in early September, when she was due to meet them at the gate of the estate, her husband died. He passed over. The spiritualists went to her home to offer help. Obviously, nothing they could do. So they came here to the hall, and before even stepping onto the ground, one had been sick, and all of them felt bilious. They walked up to this house to tell the family that they were here. Halfway up the drive, one of the women saw something black, but it wasn't moving to escape their gaze. It was just standing there as if it was staring at them. Now, the ladies, though used to spirit, were afraid, but to their credit, they moved on. This despite having gravel thrown at them, stinging their cheeks. On checking in with the family, they held each other for a group prayer, then headed to the woods, where they felt a blackness almost surround them. Despite the moon being quite full, everything seemed to darken, and their chests became tight, so tight they could hear their own hearts beating. One lady stumbled and became short of breath, but all 3 reached the cemetery. There, with a mantle of mist hanging over the tomb, with a strange smell and icy cold, they began a ceremony of blessing. Before they could get the first words out, there was a shriek from the locked tomb. The underground room, locked for 30 years, had something in it. The women steadied their nerves and continued the blessing for a huge crash to slam against the tomb door from the inside. Then, without warning, all 3 of them fell to the ground. Though none of them had wanted to, they began to run back through the woods and down the drive, not stopping until they reached their car. They got in and turned on the engine, and it was dead. The battery totally flat, all energy drained from it. They were about to ring the AA, but their mobile phones were all dead too. They thought about walking up to the hall, and yet none of them could open the gate, despite it being unlocked. Instead, they walked away to a pub on the far side of the village to call for help. Their description of what this land held was not complimentary. It seems as the 7th year of the family's occupancy nears midnight. Whatever lives on this ground or under it seems to get stronger and more protective of its space. The mother has suffered almost suicidal depressions whilst living in the hall, and I suggested that she leave the place for a day or two. She said she would merely go out tonight to let me do whatever it is I'm going to do and come back for about 2:15. They'll not be back before 2, so that I can do whatever I can do to try and help this place. It was to be the anniversary of them moving in. Tomorrow morning would begin their 7th year. The greatest opportunity for something unpleasant, but maybe also the greatest opportunity to do something about it. Maybe. I'm greatly in favour of allowing any of those miracles that live amongst us to remain where they choose. Us not bothering them if they don't bother us. Yet, should they cross the line in an aggressive way, there are times we should cross it back with equal aggression, yet tempered with respect. I have a lot more to tell you about this place. Who are the 7 dead? We need to know that before we can proceed. That's my next job with you. You with Alan Robson. It's important that you get the first part of the story, because that's the reason that I'm here. Now, I've actually got to go up a few more stairs, and you turn around and around and around. Now, I'm on the top level, which is, I would imagine, probably about 3 stories up. And you come through here. Hang on, let me just stick the light on. There, that's better. And I'm moving out. Oh, wow, this is quite something. I'm in the tower room. Now, here in the tower, you're overlooking all of the gardens. Now, there's lights attached to the sides of the house on every side. And directly below me, I can see the woodland area that has been so troubled here. It's off to my right-hand side, the pathway that I walked up, like the gravelly walkway, because you come to the house through gates at the back with cars, if you do. I came up the kind of the pathway that's the quickest route into the town area where I'm parked near where the post office place is. And the woodland just looks jet black, and it's really thick, kind of tightly packed trees off to my right-hand side. Now, I've actually got to go through there tonight. It's going to be kind of a bit of a Blair Witch by the looks of things. And on yon side of that is the cemetery, and it's the cemetery where it seems the bulk of things are happening. Do you know, it's one thing talking about it. Easiest way is... bite the bullet. I'm going to tell you the story as I'm going through the woods. I've got a tiny little torch clipped to the colour of my jacket, if it works. Let me just kind of slick it on. Yeah, that's working fine. All right. It's one of those little pencil torches, but hopefully it'll help me get through. I've got to go down to the main. It's a huge house, so I've got to go back down to the next set of stairs and turn around and then go around go down here. Hang on, which way is it? Oh no, it's not through there. Hang on, bear with me. There's only a couple of lights on in there. Oh, it's through here. It's the door that I came through into. Right. Okay. Woodland. Everybody that's been anywhere near this woodland says it's nasty. Time to find out. Right. It's down the back path round. There's the tower room directly above me to my right-hand side. And the woods are along here. And people that have visited here say that the woods look really quite beautiful during the day when the sun's out. I just haven't had a chance to find that out at all, because usually I try and get as you know, we do things like run-throughs if they're local enough to time how long the show's been. Just looking above my head, I've just walked into some kind of climbing plant that's got long spirals that's just kind of brushed into my face, and some of the trees are turning brown and looking kind of twizzled and crinkly, and already there's bugs on my face. So the woods, the one thing that stand between the hall and the cemetery, and you know, I've actually got to go through them, and I must admit, I'm not particularly looking forward to it. They're just along here. You kind of walk up the top, and I'm walking across kind of damp grass now. There's a bit of water to my right hand side. I think I've just seen a frog jump into the water. There's a slight sound of running water here. I don't know whether you can hear it, just gently trickling behind me. And even though I'm wearing fairly stout boots, I can feel a dampness, a wetness on them. And did you hear that? Did you hear that? I could have sworn I heard. It's late at night. I'm in the middle of nowhere. There's nobody on the entire estate. I could have sworn I just heard a child playing in the distance. It's over here where we're heading, and right, I'm in the woods. To my left-hand side, stout trees, and to the right, stout trees, huge trees. Directly beneath. Oh, something touched my head. Just a branch of a tree. So, it's really dark in here. There's a little bit of mist around to the edges of the lawn to the right hand side. I can hear in the distance the sound of traffic. Just very, very far off. If I look up to the skies, the canopy of the trees are kind of brushing along beside me as well, everywhere I go, and there's some of them are like conifers. It's actually quite hard to get through. You need a bloody machete. Anyway, oh, hang on. Seems to be some kind of a track here. There's ferns underneath your feet, directly beneath me, and it's so tightly packed. You seem to go from semi-light to absolute darkness. Hang on, I'm just standing still for a little while until my eyes kind of get used to what little light there is. You seem to walk along, and then you just stand on a bit of wood, and your feet slide on it. Hang on. Whoa, heavy. Kind of thick from it, and then you get onto there's some it's a bit of a did you hear that? Shh. What the hell was that? Some kind of cry off in the distance. We talked about this kind of thing on Night Owls, and we explained that there was foxes and stuff, when they're mating, make kind of weird noises off into the distance. So now, hang on, trying to get through. Oh, shoot, this is horrible. Getting through. It's, as I say, it's fairly tightly packed, so I'm going to have to just bear with me as we make our way through. You just seem to go from twilight to blackness that's so dense. Now, this is a place where there have been dozens of attacks, and hang on, there's a lot of crap under your feet here as well, and some serious injuries. A gardener apparently in the 1970s felt something shove him in the back, and he fell against a tree, and a sharp branch impaled him so hard that it broke two of his ribs. Hang on. Heavy ferns. And the weird thing about ferns is when you walk through ferns, it makes no noise, even though they're brushing against my legs all the time. And a stumble wouldn't have caused that bloke, even if he fell against a tree, to cause that sort of damage. The previous homeowners had a Doberman dog that was found in these woods, impaled on a stake, and on the day they went to bury it in the garden near the cemetery, they all heard voices screaming in the tomb and a banging on the locked door. The leaves beneath my feet on a dry day, I'm sure, would be all rustly and kind of crinkly, but it's been damp all day, and just getting through some of the trees. What a barney it is. I thought this would be fairly straightforward. Listen. Can you hear that? In the distance, just in the distance, listen. I'm getting children's voices, and I've got no idea why. Children don't crop up in the stories that I've been told at all. But I'm sure that was a child's voice. Just heard whispering on my left-hand side. It is pitch black. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, so many trees. But they're all within 3 to 4 feet of one another. Slowed me down a little bit there. So they heard voices in the tomb, and it was from that day that the activity increased beyond any sane person's tolerance. The family living there had enjoyed quite a few happy days in the hall, so what could happen to drive them out? During their time, the house was haunted. This is long before the canon came in and calmed things down. In fact, the house was so busy that an American television series in the 1980s interviewed the owner, Abraham, who told of how he lay in his bedroom and regularly saw dark shapes moving around him, and as they got close he could actually see their faces, and the entity that came to him had no eyes at all. He also explained that he felt as if the ghost was related to him. He just felt it. So our trusty historian began going back over the years that they'd lived there and found a good reason. Hang on. Can I get through here? Hang on, I'm going to have to climb over something. The place that I'm looking for is a summer house, and it's supposed to be just over here, because I came into the woods and exactly... there it is, in the right place. Hang on, it's a little way off. Let's just get there, then I'll tell you this down. Whoa, listen. Footsteps. I'm standing completely still. Listen. I'm standing completely still. I'm not moving an inch, and I can still hear footsteps. The bush to my right-hand side is also moving. But anyway, let's get... something on my head. I cut my head before and I didn't realise, but there's a little bit of blood on there. Let me just get through here. I don't know how to get in. Crossed a little wooden bridge before. Hang on, here it is. It's solid. It looks like a Victorian, wooden, but Victorian built. Oh, hang on, there's a big... I don't know what you call these there. Got my feet caught there. Some hollies to my right-hand side. Right, I'm in. Don't know whether you can actually hear. There's a slight difference in the way that it sounds. I'm sitting down on a wooden bench inside the darkest piece of wood. There's no way that this place will get any light at all. It's very spooky. Indeed, I must admit. My stomach... God, that's now... I don't like that at all. Hang on. Oh, jeez. Oh, God. I feel like I've been... You know when... Oh, God. You know when you... Last time I felt a pain like this, you kind of been hitting the testicles. You maybe when you're playing football and the ball just catches you wrong and takes all the wind out of you. Hang on a second. Oh, take it. Just do a little bit of light. A little bit of breathing. I know this place has a... Oh, God, I've just noticed that down where the edges of the summer house is, between all of the spindles, there's cobwebs, huge cobwebs. And there's a couple of really massive spiders in the corners of them. I'm sitting on a bench and I'm surrounded on 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. Oh, God, my stomach is absolutely turning over. And hang on, my broadcasting kit's just falling off my shoulder. Oh, God. You know, people say that they feel kind of stomach pain and stuff. God. Oh, I've got a splitting headache and it's just come on since I've come in here. My head's just absolutely splitting. Oh, God. Just picking a leaf off my boot, hurling it down. Did you hear that? You must have heard that. To my right-hand side, there's something that... It's probably about 5 yards away, and the whole bush has just moved. There it is again. Now, there's nothing anywhere near it, and I can see the bush, and I can see what's beyond the bush. And there's nothing there at all moving it. Listen. There's not enough wind to do that. I can hear some individual bird just chattering away there in the background. There, listen. Children. I can hear children running around. Children, listen. In the distance. They're not that far away. It's just too late for any children to be out, and I tell you, they wouldn't be out here. The whole place is black. Pitch black. It's only my little torch, and because it's clipped to my collar, there's bugs of all kinds kind of heading in my direction. So let's get the story of this place, and then I can cut through the woods. The cemetery apparently is probably about another 100 yards through them. That's what they said from the summer house. So Abraham had the American telly people here, and he explained that he felt that whatever was dead that walked here was related to him, and apparently he just felt it. So our historian began going back over the years that they lived here and discovered a really good reason why this place is so troubled. 8 months after giving the interview to TV, Abraham committed suicide. In his will, he gave orders that his stone coffin was to be placed in the family tomb alongside the rest of the family, but with an extra strange request. He instructed the funeral directors, leave the coffin open. His greatest fear was that he was going to be buried and then wake up in a coma-like state to find himself locked in a coffin underground. So his final resting place is underground, but it has 10 steps to get out once the door is open. The key to the chamber is placed in the coffin too, so that every precaution's been taken. This hysteria about being buried alive began when the father of a friend of his apparently suffered a heart attack and died, yet he woke up on the autopsy table. And he ended up living another 11 years. But Abraham, when he took his life in a hotel in London, left no chance of such a return. He downed enough drugs to kill it. Oh. Don't know whether he made that out as well, or was it just a huge kind of thumping noise? I don't even know what that was. So, his body was returned here to the hall. Perhaps against his wishes, he'd spent most of his time away from the hall after falling out with his wife, who'd sunk into another tortuous depression with the pressure of all the activity here. Maybe he needed to escape. After all, following his death, the family moved out and currently living around Oxford. Their house remained unsold until the current occupiers moved in. It seems whenever anybody took a look at this amazing hall, they just had a bad feeling about it. The hall had 4 separate estate agents, all trying to move on the property without success. Fortunately, the family were wealthy and could afford to resituate without needing any capital from the house, as it so easily should be able to provide. So Is the suicide the key to what's wrong here? The fact that... bugs. The fact that in death Abraham... being eaten alive, yeah. You feel like they're up your trouser legs as well. In death, Abraham was brought back maybe to be placed in the tomb that he didn't want to be in. Maybe that was the catalyst for the trouble. Well, look back to the early 1900s. The first member of Abraham's family died in suspicious circumstances. God, bloody hell. That was horrible. Huge spider just walked. Maybe this is their time of night and I'm just wrong to be here. The first member of Abraham's family died in suspicious circumstances in the 1900s. His name was Percy. He suffered what was described as mental aberrations, leading to him raping a maid. He avoided prison by being placed into a mental institution in Manchester. But being rich, he was back with his family within about 8 weeks. He paid off the maid, found her another job with a mate of his in Leeds. He was described as being angry, aggressive, frankly unpleasant. He bullied his workers in the house and those who worked the farms attached to the property at the time. The woman who'd agreed to marry him called off the wedding after witnessing his brutal treatment of his horses, thrashing them with a birch cane for daring to defecate whilst he was sitting on the horse. He hit the horse so hard he drew blood and punched it in the face. His fiancée, Catherine, whose father owned neighbouring land, declared that he was already married to the devil and... God, fathers! Shh. What the hell was that? I'm now approximately 10 feet away. There was just an amazingly loud kind of crash there. I'm not sure I actually want to go back in there again. It's a weird thing. It's just stuck out in the middle of nowhere. Or maybe when it was built there weren't the trees here, but the nature's just kind of reclaimed it. Oh, my headache is just... It's gone up to a 10, you know. Heart's absolutely hammering. You must have heard that noise. You can't not have heard that. What worries me when I'm out and about in... Hang on. When I'm out and about in... kind of woods like I am at the present moment, you hear a few noises yourself, but you're never sure whether you're quite getting it back at home, whether you're actually hearing it or not. So let me just... No, I'm going to go back in. I don't know what that was, but let's go back in. I'm inside again. It's just pitch black and you can see just one long bench. Now, I was sitting on a bench and right next to me there was the noise as if somebody'd just picked the bench up and thrown it up in the air. Anyway, I'm sitting down again. Right. So he was mistreating his horses. This is the guy back in the 1900s, Percy. His fiancée, Catherine, whose father owned neighbouring land, declared that he was already married, so he couldn't marry her. He was already married to the devil. She refused ever to see him again. Percy tried time and time again riding over to the farm. I just heard a kind of a dragging noise. Did you get that? Listen. Is that you, Percy? What is that? God, my skin's crawling. It's probably more likely the bugs than anything else. This whole place. Listen. So anyway, Percy tried time and time again, riding over... Just heard another scraping noise. He used to ride over to the farm and he'd send letters to his ex-girlfriend for another chance, but she'd made her mind up. And there were other kind of mental aberrations too. He beat a groom to within an inch of his life for talking back to him. He actually shot a beautiful horse in the head because Catherine had refused it as a gift. And finally, he set fire to a barn. Depression's something that kind of goes with this place. And if the headache that I've got is anything to go, listen to this creaking and banging here. Good God. That is coming from a blank space right beside me. There's nothing there. There's not another chair, another seat. I'm sitting on a seat that's probably big enough for 3 people. But let me just shuggle me bum. I'm shuggling me bum. It makes no noise, no creaks at all. But there's something making some noise in here. Above me, it all goes to like a spiral point at the top. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 huge heavy beams. Listen, did you hear swishing noise? Listen. Mozzie has something in my mouth there. It was horrible. Depression comes with this place, and if my head is just absolutely pounding, you know when you can feel your heartbeat in your brow? Horrible. So, during one of his depressions, Percy drank and drank and drank until he choked on his own vomit. He was the first member of the family placed in that crypt, the first of the 7, a building that had been there for almost 200 years. Listen. This raised another question. There was a crypt that had been there for 200 years. What happened to the previous occupants, and is that part of what this story's all about? Oh, I'm being toyed with here. Come on then. Prove it. Is that you, Percy? Percy? You playing, Percy? Nothing. Just traffic about a mile away in the distance. I don't know whether you're picking any of that up. So across the decades, the house owners have all had their own run-ins with depression, yet all reports claim that while living elsewhere, they were like the life and soul of the party, really happy. Yet as soon as they come back here, the darkness that lives here falls upon you, and it affects every facet of your life. In the 1920s, Thomas suffered pneumonia and begged his wife to help him die. He was in great pain, and in a dark mood or a depression, he ordered her to bring him medicines that the doctor had prescribed. He ordered... Listen. Whoa! I felt vibrations of that. It's like it's coming from under the... It's coming from underneath the wooden floor. That's me, banging. But it doesn't make any kind of big noise like we're hearing. It's kind of like it's an echoey kind of flat noise. But I've heard big kind of shoves. So, anyway, he's in great pain. He's depressed. He ordered his wife to crush all of this drug together to make a single draught of wine so he could end his misery. His wife, Elizabeth, was the obedient wife, helped her husband cross the Great Divide, and such was the family's influence at the time that the death was put down to pneumonia. She avoided any kind of prosecution. Yet within the month, she was also suffering from pneumonia and in hospital. She began a surprising recovery, yet on returning to the hall, the condition seemed to return. Along with it, her temperament and behaviour worsened. She screamed at people and cursed them, and when she ordered a nurse to bring a bottle of herbal treatment, just wouldn't want to be done. Not at all. You could be sure she would not argue. Nobody wanted to face Mary Elizabeth's wrath. The treatment, mixed with the strong medicine and pills, was ill-advised, but not as ill-advised as all the gin that she drank, according to me. And that's why they say that her last words were, "Damn you all to hell, I'm going there, and I'll keep a place for you. Now bring me more gin." The following morning she was found dead, and once again the coroner was kind to the family and put the causes of death down as complications caused by pneumonia. Yet in both cases it was doubtless suicide. I am in the middle of the blackest woodland, somewhere south of the patch, down the bottom end of South Yorkshire, and maybe it's a little bit further. And I've just heard whispering off to my left-hand side. In fact, I can still hear it now. I'm going to hold the microphone in the direction of it. I don't know whether you'll pick any of this up at all, but let's hope, because it sounds like it's coming from approximately 10 feet in front of me. Don't know whether you got any of that at all, but... So why am I here? We're still working it out. We've got death after death after death, and they're all people dying before their time. As the scant records go, all seemed fairly calm at the Hall until they began to renovate it in 1936. In the diary of George, one of Thomas and Mary Elizabeth's sons, he wrote, "The house has been troubled since we rebuilt the west wing. I've seen things, and so has Philip," that was his brother, "and we've lost 2 staff due to them. The house is all the better for the change. Damp is put right, yet the place is worse than sombre. I've all felt sickness and ailing, and on walking the grounds, I felt eyes upon me, and something stopped me going into the woods. There's an evil there. That's all I can say. It makes no sense, yet I will not wander there. Instead," listen, did you hear that? Some kind of cry in the distance. "Instead, I'll leave the estate and walk the lanes rather than take the foul air on our own ground. Father Richardson has said that he feels unsettled when he visits us. I feel it too, but there seems naught to be done. Perhaps it's the ghosts of Mummy and Father, and I could not seek to ask them to leave, for this is their home too." Phil's research was really thorough. I got photocopies of the diaries. There were a few holes in the history of it. George was commissioned as an officer when war broke out. He died in Europe in suspicious circumstances during World War II. In 1941, his body came back here to the Hall, and it was interred in the tomb with a letter claiming he was killed in action. The body was placed in his coffin, and when it was shown clearly to have half his head blown away, as if someone had fired a gun whilst holding up against the side of his head, yet he was killed whilst not in a combat zone. So it may well be that he had added to the family's trait of suicide, dealt with kindly by the lieutenant's unit. So in that tomb, they're the bodies of 5 people, all taken before their time, at their own hand, and they weren't going to be the last. George's brother was only 12 when he died, and listen. Are you getting that? You getting that? Getting a smell as well. Just got a touch of a really unpleasant smell. And it's not me, though I'm nervous enough to do that. Whoa, come on. I'd love to know who it is. Is it Thomas? Is it Percy? Is it Mary Elizabeth? Is it any of you? I'd like to know. Don't just make noises. Show yourself or say something. Say something, come on. Just got something off in the distance. Did you hear that? It was about 10 feet away. I'm not used to being replied to. Just heard some kind of, and it was slightly more than whispering that as well. I don't know what it was, but it's just before me. Now, George had just died, and back to the Hall, shot in action or shot himself. George's brother Philip was only 12 when he died, and he was badly affected by the death of his brother. He began having outbursts of destructive behaviour, smashing vases, throwing things through windows and running off into the woods when he was supposed to be in school. No one could bear to be in those woods except him, so he was being, just quite frankly, a bit of a bad lad. The staff were ordered to go and fight him because he would come into these woods and he would hide. and he would run around. Kate, George's wife, was reluctant to go into these woods and was more terrified to go anywhere near the cemetery. For the next 3 years he was a nightmare. He'd bitten, punched and kicked out at anybody who tried to drag him back to the hall. He saw very little of school, and yet when he was there he was violent, he was disobedient, he was disrespectful. Back home his trick was to get up on the roof and run along the ledges, jumping from balcony to balcony, and his mum had begged him not to do it, and he'd spat in her face. She still loved him very much, being the only thing that she had left of her late husband. But the pressure of his behaviour, plus the stresses of the place itself, was dragging her down too. The staff were telling her to sell up and leave. But she couldn't, with her husband and family all buried here. The house had her trapped in misery, and just as the war began to turn in the favour of the Allies, Philip was sitting on the roof throwing down tiles at people crossing the courtyard. His mother was called, and she screamed at him to get down. It was a wet day, and the tiles were very slippery. And you can just picture him, and looking, remembering what the hall looks like, you can kind of imagine just exactly what it would have been like for him to be sitting up there on the roof and just looking down and chucking tiles and just being a little sod. But what a fantastic vantage point it would be for any kid to be in a situation like that. So his mother was screaming and screaming and screaming. Soaking day, tiles slippy. Philip jumped across them as if he was on the ground. Then he reached the end of the roof and he shouted, "Mummy!" As she looked up, he just leaned forward. And she said it was as if it was slow motion. He fell and he died at her feet. The most horrific thing, according to the gardener who witnessed the whole thing, was he apparently was grinning all the way down. And once more the coroner showed his kindness and said it was accidental death, claiming the child was running across the roof and was unable to stop his momentum, carrying him over the edge. Yet his mum knew the truth. She could no longer live here. She moved abroad to Spain with her sister. She sold off the farms to fund her trip, but couldn't sell the hall because of her family all being buried here. Instead, she entrusted it to her brother Robert, who moved in, paid the rent. He got rid of all the staff and lived here for 14 years, 2 sevens, until in the 50s he was found dead. The coroner could find no cause of death, yet at only 38 he was found by a postman, lying by his car, his eyes wide open, his face contorted in fear. Yet there was no reason for him to be dead. No suspicious circumstances, not a mark on him. It was put down to natural causes. As there was room in the tomb, Robert was placed there too. The house was placed in trust by Kate and maintained by the staff Robert had sacked. They came in and cleaned once a week, all leaving as quickly as they could. Furniture and cars were sold, and eventually, when her health began to deteriorate, Kate put the house up for sale. But year in, year out, people came to see it. They turned down the chance to own it. Abraham, Thomas's other son, decided that it must stay in the family. He took it on and paid a nominal fee to Kate. She was desperate for any money, as paying for medical care overseas was proving expensive. On his death, the hall went back up for sale. Abraham was the last body to be put in the tomb, and it was locked for all time. Yet the major activity was just beginning. Potential buyers would come and check out the hall, most seeing it as too big a project. Ooh. Listen. Good God. That was close to me as well. These are my hands. Listen. That's me clicking my fingers. What the hell is that? I'm getting a sensation of somebody standing right beside me. There's just blackness. If there was a black figure there, you'd never be able to tell. There's just blackness all around me. My heart, chest's tightening. Estate agents hated being around here. It just felt wrong then, and it feels wrong now. The price fell lower and lower below what it was worth, and finally the current owners took it on. To really live to regret their decision within months. It's been up for sale for 6.5 years. The current occupiers made a list of notes. I've actually got that in my pocket somewhere. Let's just dig it out. There were 6 pages of it, but I just jotted down a few of the things. Dark shapes rushing along corridors, shouting from the graveyard, hammering on doors, lots of tapping on windows, being pushed and touched, faces staring in the windows late at night, figures walking through the woods, glowing balls of light, free paper delivery boy pushed off his bike on drive, refuse collector slapped, wardrobe doors slamming, ornaments firing off surfaces, plates in the kitchen smashing, chairs in the summer house stacking, chimney from roof falling near car. Listen. We came here to get a little something. If you haven't heard any of the things that I've been hearing, I'm going mad. If you have, you know this place is busy. I can hear it still. Like a tapping noise. About 10 feet away from me on the right-hand side. Nothing's moving. Other things there. Experience dark figures sitting on beds, whispering near your head, being touched or pushed whilst on the stairs. It was at this point the Canon blessed the house, and whatever was causing the problems in there seemed to push everything outside, here into the garden, into the woods, and more importantly, towards the tomb, a place with a linking to the number 7, with 7 bodies in the tomb, all dead before they should be, all at their own hand, with 3 patches of 7 bodies that nobody knows who they are. And it's reaching their 7th year, and the blackness just spreads and spreads and spreads. Right, I'm gonna start making my way through the woods. I have places to go and things to do. I hope you're gonna come out. I tell you what, just before I go, this is just a straightforward challenge. Let me just take you through some of the names of the people here. Abraham. There's something bugging the hell out. I hear children in the distance again. Are you getting? Do you get the kids are just freaking me out. The bangs and the bumps. God, I've been to enough places to hear bangs and bumps, but it's in the distance. It's like kids are running around and laughing and giggling, and I've heard little kids chuckling, and I even heard crying when I was walking up the drive. But it's not like grown up crying. Everything that I've heard, the youngest child that we've come across has been 12. Abraham, are you the one bugging me, Abraham? Is it you? Abraham, do you need a little help to move on? Abraham, is it you? And if it's not you, is it Percy? Percy, is it you, Percy? Could be Percy, couldn't it? Percy, whose fiancée Catherine left him. Thomas, is it you, Thomas? Is it George? One of Thomas and Mary Elizabeth. It could be Mary Elizabeth. Is it Philip? Philip? You're only 12, Philip. It's the kind of thing you would do. Is it you, Philip? Jesus, what's... Just imagine I said the F word there. I wanted to shout. Something. I'm inside like a towered structure. The only way to get anything in here is for it to come in at an angle, if that makes sense. Nothing can drop down. That sounded to me like stone. The only way it could come in is if it had been thrown. It had to come in at an angle. There's no way. Let's see if I can find it. I'm going to have to click on my little torch for that. Right. I'm looking around. All I can see is outside the that's me. Oh, God, I have no idea what that was. Oh. There's cobwebs all around my head, and you know the little like husks of old shed spider skins hanging on webs directly around the edges of this old decrepit summer house. I'm getting out. enough. Come back to me soon. I'm going to be taking the last 100 yards through the woods. I've got to get back to that. The cemetery, everybody says, is the epicentre of it now. I'm going to head there now. Alan Robson with you. Scared out of me wits. We're getting stuff. Hi, it's Alan Robson. I've been walking through the woods since you left me, and it's thicker than you'd imagine. You're falling over plants all the time and trees in all directions. And if you've just joined us, I came here and the owners have given me carte blanche to do whatever I want here. Imagine having a beautiful house of your own, but your garden is absolutely possessed. And there's stuff there. Listen, will you stop that? Will you, if you're doing that to frighten me, you've succeeded. Will you just pack that in? Don't know whether you're getting all this child noise. It's, oh God, something sharp's just hit me in the chest. God, oh shite! It's still actually sticking through my clothes. It's stuck in us. Oh, get that out. God, I don't think it's... Put my hand in my shirt. I don't think it's pierced me, but it's stuck in my clothing. So, lots of deciduous trees. I'm kind of squeezing through the various trunks. There's a bit more of a trail here. And the darkness at this time of night is just... You've got no idea. It's beyond black. My eyes are accustomed to so little light that the darkness seems to kind of move around you. It's like the night's forging itself and making its own shapes. I keep feeling this freezing cold wind that just kind of runs through me, and yet none of the plants move around me. None of the plants at all. My stomach's really queasy. I felt really ill before I was cut in half with it. I feel that I could be sick at any point. And as I get nearer this tomb thing, because I know it's at the other side of this woodland that I'm kind of trying to Blair Witch myself through, and I don't want to be melodramatic about this smell, but it's like the smell of death. And I do actually know what that smell is like. When I used to live in Benwell at the top of Kew Gardens, there was a lovely woman who was housebound, and every day she sat at our window upstairs with it open, and she'd just say hello to everybody that would come and go. I'd talk to her every day. Everybody I know in Benwell did. Then for a couple of days, hang on, just step over this big sucker. Then for the next couple of days, oh God, hang on, let me just get through this. God, it's brambles kind of sticking to your legs. God, hang on, let's just flaming hell. I've just seen a shape approximately 50 feet ahead of me. There's a little bit of light coming in from the opposite side because the cemetery is built next to a 12-foot wall far beyond it, and on the other side of it there's like a cottage and there's a couple of street lights, and I've just seen something black just move from not fast, not really casual, as if it's just kind of there. 50 feet ahead. It could be my eyes playing tricks with me. You always got to live by my own rules, which is that 95% of everything has a logical explanation. Oh, getting sick of these trees, mate. And creaking through. Oh, jeez, good God. Shine on. They've got a bloody wind chime hanging from a tree. Shit. I like wind chimes. That was horrible. Leave that alone. Walk past it. Gonna have a heart attack one day. It's still fairly tightly packed. So I'm telling you about the lady at the top of our street. Well, eventually they discovered that she wasn't there one day, and she hadn't been there for a couple of days, and I was just coming out of the house, and there was a policeman knocking at the door, and we actually lived opposite at 203, and I saw him knocking at the door and there was no reply. So the window was open, and I said, do you want us to climb up and open the door so you can come in? And the policeman knew I was always climbing over walls and shinning up kind of metal drain pipes, and that usually to retrieve a football or something. The policeman said it was all right and stood underneath us in case I fell. A situation I'm fairly sure that health and safety wouldn't approve of now. And I got onto the ledge near our windowsill, and I stuck my head through, and I climbed and... Listen. Pitter-pattering, like small feet running. Oh, God, there's something on my head. Something on my head. Oh, slap head. When something gets in your hair and starts wriggling around, that was not something spectral, that was something biological. That was a bug of some kind. But that's when I first smelt this smell, and it's heavy on my lungs. Once I got in the room, I couldn't see anything. But once I walked around the other side of the bed, the woman I talked to every day, who was so full of life and a happy heart and really lovely, it was obvious to me, even as just a little boy, that she was dead. She was gone. She was no longer in that room. All that was left was a green-grey husk, like those spider husks I was describing to you hanging in the old summer house. Opened the door, policeman came in, ambulances called, the doctor pronounced her dead, and you know, I carried the smell of that in my nose, along with the image in my head, for months and months and months. And I'm getting... just talking about it's giving me that image again. I can see her lying dead on the floor, and I'm getting very close to the edge of the woods. I can see the woodland kind of thinning out. I always believe if you kind of hold onto a tree, and this one's got sap dripping from it like honey from where a branch has been snapped off. This time of night it just glitters a little bit, and a little bit of light coming from my torch on my collar, and the bugs are loving it and eating me in the process. I've got that smell now though. Brambles kind of clicking the legs of my jeans. I've grazed my hands, nettles stung, as if they've stung me on purpose, you know what I mean? I had the sort to proggers. But the only way to the cemetery is in the middle of pitch black, witchy woodland. The only way to the cemetery could only be me, couldn't it? Anyway, how did they get coffins and gravestones and such through this? Such a tangle. Nature has a way of taking over, if you give it half the chance. I heard a whispering really close to my ear before, and I'm getting it again now, just to my left-hand side. Don't know whether you're getting... Can you hear this? Can you hear the whispering? Couldn't make out what they're saying. Just put it down to the cold and how can it feel warmish 30 feet away, and then when you get closer to this, it's like stepping into a freezer. I feel my nipples hardening, yeah. It's not a pleasant thing. There's bugs flying around my head near this bloody torch. Something moving in front of me. Listen. Listen, I'm not moving. Good God. It's a yard in front of me. Let it be a rabbit or a fox or a badger. Small deer I'd accept at this point. I remember reading in the paper. I bought one of the local papers on the way down, and they're talking about a wild cat that had been spotted. I really don't want to meet him tonight, if you don't mind. It's to make my night perfect. I'm already been bleeding and scared rotten. Apparently it was like a big black creature the size of a large Doberman that they spotted, yet it was walking cat-like. Some sheep had been attacked and one of them was partially eaten. Could have been a dog though. Don't know why I had to think of that right here in the middle of this. If I have to run out of here, I've got to come back through all this crap. My stomach's turning over and it's kind of rifting on me in a really nasty kind of unpleasant way. Just trying to find a way through. Get that bloody way. I'm getting really kind of fractious here. Really oh God. I'm hoping this is just my imagination. I keep looking and I'm much closer to that gap in the end of the woodland as I was before, and I can still see the moving shapes of dark figures, or dark figure should I say. I've only seen one. I don't want to see any. Well, I do. That's the thing about this kind of stuff, you know, you want to but you don't. It's weird. Anyway, I've had that horrible pain in my stomach kind of coming back again, and if I have to run through all of this at any kind of pace, I'll cut myself to ribbons, and I know you'd fall over. It's an intimidating and horrible place. Listen, kids again, listen, clear as day. God, please tell me you hear that. Listen. Do you hear that? Subtle but clear footprints of people walking around in grass. Little kitty, it's like fast running little feet. Pretty much anybody who's come near this place has suffered not just physically but with bad things happening to them, you know. Bad luck. We had the psychic whose husband died. You had me mate from Leeds who had the burst appendix and stuff. And here's me thinking I'm not so worried about my own health, but I did think I hope my car's alright. Boys and their toys. Anyway, seem to have spent all my time in these woods waving my hands around trying to stop. I got blood on my head and there's loads of mosquitoes in here. I don't want these disease-carrying buggers drinking my essence. I've tripped over a tree root before as well, scraped a bit of my forearm. You just feel stupid. And when I was down on my hands and knees, I remember feeling that there was somebody standing over me. And you do. And then you end up questioning if you were tripped or had you been pushed. It's interesting how your mind plays all kinds of tricks when you find yourself in frightening situations. There's something kamikaze about it. Do you know what I mean? There's something kind of self-destructive that makes you not just think the worst, but almost expect it. When I'd been out and about with a Christian exorcist, my friend a Canon, all those years ago, exorcisms tended to be in comfortable houses, warm and light and welcoming, and truthfully most of mine have been too, but talk about getting outside your comfort zone. It's freezing here. The spot that I'm standing at the present moment, it's like there's a swirling cold and it's moving in circles around me. I can feel it brushing and it's going from left to right around my head, and I just get the feeling that it's the same wind just coming round. And listen, something else just moving there. Something's just brushed past me. It wasn't just air, that. Oh, good God. I can see a woman. Oh, shoot. Something on my hand. Ahead of me, 50 yards. There's an opening, and I can see grass beyond it. Probably about 50 feet of it. At the far end of it, I can see gravestones in what little light there is. And to the left-hand side, there's the shape of... There's a person shape. It's a person shape. It's too far away for me to make it out, and my eyes long distance aren't good anyway. And it could be an explanation for... It could be a statue, I suppose, in the cemetery. But it looks to be moving. It is moving. Oh, wow. It's good. Oh, shit, where's it gone? Apologies if I just swore there. Oh. I think it's the realisation that that's where I'm going. Listen. Gentle little patter noises. I'm being circled all the way through. I felt that I'm being circled. Come on, let's just get there. The woods feel like they're the size of Kielder Forest, but they're probably only as wide as a couple of football pitches long. Yet, in the dark, you always find the path of firmest resistance. Had this been the daytime, I'm sure I'd have found an easier way than this. Put my foot in a puddle of kind of gunk, muddying up me boots, and they're actually quite nice boots. And there's more mist here. There's a mist about a foot deep across the grass. Nothing swirling, just a thick kind of greyness. I'm definitely at the end of the woods here. I'm there. Everything around me, everything behind me is black. I'm walking across a very, very damp lawn. The grass is very long. I can feel it wetting my trousers and kind of seeping through. It's not pleasant. There's conifers to my right-hand side and huge cobwebs linking all of the big trees together. I mean, cobwebs that are 3 and 4 foot wide. There's lamps here, presumably attracting them, like little garden lamps, but they're not lit now. Beginning to wish that they were. Would certainly make me feel a little bit better. Do you know, I just felt so relieved to get out of the woods, but I can still hear kids. Can you? I can hear water as well. The stream must come out here. Can you hear water? There's definitely water running. Hearing noises all over the place. I was just so glad to get out the woods. And now I'm standing at the edge of a cemetery, waist deep in mist. Can see a few crosses here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 crosses to my left. Behind me, just over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 crosses. And then at the other side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And here, I'm now at the edge of the tomb. There's definitely water running, as far as I can hear. You know, that thing that I said looked like a woman? It's a Virgin Mary statue, and she's looking at me and she's not impressed. Her nose has been chipped off. She's got the look of a boxer rather than the mother of the Christian's Godwalker. There was a silence in the woods. It's just got thicker here. The kind of silence you only get at night in a cemetery. God. No birds here, is there? Nothing crying here. Just 10 steps down a hole. And I think it's time Oh God, look at this. It's a round, circular, old stone tunnel. And it leads down 10 steps to a big, massive, heavy wooden door. This is the epicentre. This is where all 7 are buried. And maybe if that child's spirit that seemed to throw something at me earlier on is kicking around here, if I'm going to find it anywhere, it's going to be in here. Alan Robson, say a prayer for me now. I'm going down 10 steps. And the next time you hear me, I'm going to be going in to that tomb. Alan Robson with you. And I've been standing outside of this blasted thing, and all of a sudden behind me, almost like they're trying to warn me, there's suddenly bird song about. I've been standing outside of this blasted tomb. I'm below ground level, looking up behind me, you can just see the big kind of U shape of the tunnel that leads down into it. And while I've been standing here, I've heard noises from behind the door. At first, you put it down to your imagination, because you always should. I've heard noises coming from around the door. Now, the door needs these keys. And I'm in. God, Scooby-Doo door as well, just what you need. And I'm now can step from outside to inside. Well, here I am, inside. This is horrible. God, why do I do this? Oh, God. Just heard a strange kind of creaking noise coming from directly behind me since I've walked in. Let me just give you an idea of what's in here. I've got my small little clip-on torch, me little scientist's geek torch, clipped to the lapel of this jacket, and I've got a right sweat on at the present moment. It is freezing in here, but for no apparent reason. I've got a sweat on. And right, let's just move back around here a little bit. And right, it's a very solid concrete floor, and with the door behind me, and when that door slammed before, just kind of made you have a reality check as to where you actually are. Right, on my left hand side there are 3 shelves in this tomb, and there's stone coffins, stone, boxes. They're not shaped like coffins, they're just shaped rectangular, but big enough for a human body, and there's 3 of them on each concrete shelf to my left, going from kind of slightly below the level of the ground, the first one, then the second one is above it, and the third one is above, the actual shelf is just about my head height, and the coffin goes on above that. On my right hand side it's exactly the same arrangement, but you'd be surprised, this tomb's much bigger than you would think. It's probably 25 feet long by about 16 feet wide, and the height of it probably goes up to be about 9 feet tall. Directly ahead of me, because I was told there was 7 bodies here, there are 3, but there's 2 on one shelf. So technically there's 4 tombs or coffins or boxes, whatever they are, ahead of me. Let's just have a walk over there, and getting a little bit of noise. Listen. You getting that? I'm getting a kind of sliding noise. I'm not moving. My heart is. My bowels could at any time. Right, I'm there, and here in front of me, is a wooden box. Most of them are stone. The one here is wooden. I presume this is the one that Abraham went in. So I know if needs must, there's a key in here. I don't particularly want to go rummaging in there. And as you move out, you can probably still hear how echoey this place is, but it depends where you actually move to. I've got my broadcasting kit. I've also got a few tools of my trade. Still got a splitting head that I accrued earlier on. Over here on the wall there's metal icons. whether you can hear. My stomach is really, really upset too. There's 1, 2, 4 icons hanging off the wall directly in front of me. There's strange for a tomb. There's no Christian symbolism at all. Usually when you get to places like this, and I noticed outside you've got that broken up statue of the Virgin Mary that obviously somebody's had a go at it. It literally does look like somebody's fired a shovel at her face. Yet in here there's none of that at all. Oh God, I've just put my hand on something and it's slimy. What the hell is that? Oh, it's nasty. It's on my fingers at the present moment, and it's kind of whitish looking. I don't know what that is. A lot of spiders in here. There's cobwebs in every corner, and in between there's huge... Oh, these look kind of pagan. Directly ahead of me there's 2 huge candlestick holders. The candles... Hang on, I'll see if I can lift one off. No, I can't. They're kind of welded on with candle wax, but the candle stands come up about probably 5 feet, and in the middle there's a Celtic, or I think it looks more Celtic than pagan symbol in the middle. That's me just running my hands over it, but the decoration in the middle of it is absolutely beautiful. Cobwebs kind of linking it together. Oh, there's another one over here. It's hard to see in the darkness. You can see shapes, but you can't see detail until you get right up close. Here there's a single candle stand. It's made of metal of some kind. Don't know what that is. And over here there's a cupboard with a key. Hang on, let's have a look in here. Oh, it's a walk-in. Oh, good grief. Just what you need, a tomb within a tomb. Let's go in and have a look. And in here there is some books. Nothing remotely biblical either. Old books. Some of these look to be at least a couple of 100 years old. About travel, and one here, discovering London, and it looks like it's 1900s. It's old and dusty. I'm not even going to touch them. Also on a shelf here there's looks like a funeral jar, but there's the top's off and there's nobody in there. And I'm going to just step out of here. Lock it back up. There's a shroud here lying in... Now, this is a coffin, and there's a shroud here. I don't know whether you can hear it. Ugh. Put your hand in it and critters start scuttling about. Not a huge fan of spiders, but I'll cope with it. So here we are. And so far, most of the noises that I heard when I was outside in here haven't happened. And I'm quite relieved about that. I've heard a bit of slippy sliding. It's strange because... Oh, hello. When you're in a... Hang on. The door that I came in has started to creak, as if there's somebody trying to get in. Or is it... Listen. Hope you're getting that. I'm about 3 feet away and the creaking noise is quite loud in here. That's coming from the door. I'm just saying, if that is somebody trying to get in, I got nowhere to run. I'm just beginning to think maybe it's somebody trying to get out. There's not a handle to turn or anything. Just a key and a push, and then we slammed it shut, as you remember. I spoke too soon about the noise thing. Okay, lesson learned. I suppose the thing that we should do when we're in here is maybe carry out an experiment or two. The present minute, I think one probably do. I've got to be in here a lot longer. This is supposed to be the centrepiece. Now that I didn't like. The wooden coffin that I was at about a couple of minutes ago has just made an outrageous creak. If there's anybody here, make yourself known, please. If there's anybody here, make yourself known. Not just with a creak or a bang. Show yourself or say something or do something. We've come a long way for this. If there is anything here at all, I want to know, and I want you to make yourself known to me right now. Whatever it takes, I want you to show yourself. Whatever it is. Getting a little bit swishing, but nothing. Not too great. Smelling is disgusting. Just got a swishy kind of noise. Felt some air move past me there. Come on. Still haven't had anything that you can remotely say is conclusive here. Getting a bit of noise to my left-hand side. Listen. Every little noise in here seems to be a big noise. Noise off to my left. Kind of like a slidey noise. Sounded kind of metal. I'm not even sure what there is metal here. There's a number of like toomy things, but they're concrete to my left and concrete to my right, and the ones directly in front of me are wooden. Don't knock, you might get a knock back, there's a thought. But that's what we're here for. Getting something. Listen. I'm not moving. That's my feet. So what the hell's that? Just moving my feet so you can tell what's me. But I'm getting extra noises. A little bit of whispering. I'm getting whispering now. Okay, we accept there's something here. I want to see you, though. I'm not content with this, come on. Don't hide in the dark. Don't hide in the dark. Come on. Look, I tell you what we'll do. Let's use an old-fashioned technique. Find yourself back at the studio. We're going to an ad break to give everybody the chance to find. All you need is a small mirror. A small mirror. It can be square, it can be round. Can't be too big. It should really just be round about the size of a compact mirror that a girl might have, or a budgie mirror. You know, those little round guys. Maybe a shaving mirror for a man. Small mirror. Find yourself a small mirror. And I'm going to go looking for whatever's in here next. Alan Robson with you. At the present moment, if you've just tuned in, I am in a tomb with 7 people who died. 1 was murdered. 6 chose to take their life, and they're not happy. Get back to me as soon as you can, but find a small mirror. I've got one here. I need you lot to have one too. We're going to do something called scriving next, so stay with us. We are now into the time when the family would originally have moved in almost 7 years ago. 7 seemingly to be some kind of mystical figure here. 7 bodies in the tomb. 3 groups of 7 graves outside. Obviously Christian graves outside. There are crosses and Virgin Marys and religious symbolism of one sort or another. But in here, Nothing. In fact, it's noticeable by its absence, because usually in the various places that I've been all over the world, you usually get something. You usually get some artifact or other. And tonight, I'm in this tomb, and we said we were going to do some... Just getting a little bit of noise to my left-hand side. You see, when... Again, just to get back to the 95% of everything isn't real. The reason I say that is because the fact that I'm in here, I'm changing the energy of the whole room. And my energy is mixing in with whatever's here. So therefore you are going to get some things that are not... Oh, that didn't sound good. There was something that sounded like somebody falling almost there. I don't know whether you picked that up. I know some of these things are so subtle, but in here, everything, every little noise comes across. Anyway, let's do this scribing thing. The only light I have is a tiny little lapel torch. In your house, if you can put a single candle on. Sorry, I should have tipped you the wink about the candle. Go find yourself a candle. We're going to use a technique that's ancient but really effective. This is a way where you will stand a particularly good chance of seeing spirit. Scribing, it's called. It's very, very old and ancient. And I'm getting a kind of a grey, misty, swirly thing in the top right-hand corner. It's the corner above two sets of tombs on my left and at the back. In the top corner, there's a swirling, a kind of like it could be just dust moving around, because there's nothing been in here since 1977, since Abraham, who's in this coffin, since he was buried. I'm looking up at the top corner. I'm a foot away from swirling kind of... swirling kind of nothing there now. What the hell was that? Could be my eyes playing tricks. It's funny what your mind's eye shows you when you're in places like this. I actually can hear, just when I get close to a wall, there's like a dripping noise, but in here is completely and utterly dry. Right, have you got your candle? Switch off all your other lights once you've lit your candle. Switch off all of your other lights. It must be just a room, curtains closed. If you can switch electrical gadgets off, that would be a good thing too, so that the only energy in there is yours. And obviously you can leave the radio on, otherwise you'll kind of miss a trick, won't you? Right, so you'll not be able to hear a word. Where did I say? Whoa! If you're not going to show yourself, I'm going to come looking. Okay, whatever's in here. And if there are others, bring them here. Gather them here now. If it's all of you family members that have passed, if the 7 of you are kind of stuck in here, bring them all back. There was plenty noise and plenty things circling me and talking to me and whispering about in the woods. Whisper, 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 whisper. Say something that I can understand. I can hear whispers. You don't have to whisper. I'm not whispering to you. I'm getting whispering. You must be able to hear that. That's just plain as day. Right, we're going to see you. I'm going to see you. Now, the thing is, if you are doing scribing back at your house, hang on, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sit on the edge of this thing where the tomb is. There's no... Right. Didn't like the feel of that. Right. Scribing. If you do this in your home, the thing that you must understand is that you will see whatever's in your house. You'll not see what's here. You'll see what's in your house. Now, I believe there's energies moving around all over the place. Maybe some people say, oh, we share the dimension. We're rebounding at a particular amount of times, where we're reverberating at a level, but there are other things reverberating on different levels that allow them to live in the same place at the same time. Don't know whether that's true, don't care, but the fascination of it is tremendous. Alchemists throughout the centuries realized that it's always easier to see spirit through the looking glass rather than with your eyes, so they created many devices to help them. Some say the sacred crystal was formed into a ball for this purpose and is now used by the gifted and a whole lot of charlatans alike. However, as early as the 1300s, sorcerers used a scriving mirror to help them locate troubled spirits, and this often helped ordinary people. It will give them a chance to see their loved ones that had safely passed over to the next life. To create a scriving mirror, you attach a small mirror to a rod, like essentially a stick. But you can hold the mirror in your hand and it'll be just as effective. Most scriving mirrors had a stick attached to them, so you could hold the stick kind of at chest level while holding the mirror where I'm about to tell you to place it. You need a mirror around the same size as you would find in a birdcage, ideally. A little bit bigger is not a problem. It should ideally be circular. Square you can still get away with. It has to fit on your face near your eye. The idea is so the mirror is placed alongside of your nose, so you can look into the mirror with one of your eyes and see everything happening in the room purely in reflection. You keep your other eye closed so you can focus clearly on what is in the room in that reflection. The rod is put on it purely to allow it to be held more comfortably. But for our purposes tonight, I'm holding one next to my nose. And once you have your scriving mirror, there are certain things you must do to assure you have the best chance of success. Many believe that for the best results, this ritual should be done only on a full moon. But I believe that to be pure, to ensure that there is enough light to see, that's all that was about. It was just to make sure that full moon you would see more. Those in search of the entities that surround us everywhere have used this tool in investigations of sites said to be haunted with incredible success, including the infamous Borley Rectory, the Plague Island of Poveglia, and even Stonehenge they've caught things. So you need a candle and a scriving tool. You should also have some kind of tribute. Now, in the olden days, it was a flower head. So if you have any flowers in the house at the moment, just clip the head off one. If you have no flowers, a simple coin would do. Any coin. It's just as a tribute, almost as a payment. First, select where you consider the room in your house to be most active. Obviously, I'm going to be doing it here in this tomb. If there's a room where you've heard noises, felt an unseen hand, or maybe glanced shadows out of the corner of your eye, be alone in the room. Getting some creaking from that bloody coffin again. You've got to be alone in the room. The fewer distractions there are, the more likely you will see what's real. Major bang coming from the corner. Might be intimidating them by sounding like I know what I'm talking about. Yes, you're going to be seen. There's no question about it. We're coming looking for you. You won't show yourself. This is what you bring on yourself. Anyway, try and be alone in whatever room in your house you're going to do this. The fewer distractions there are, the more likely that you'll see what's really there. Okay. Prepare the room by placing the candle waist height. Some of the ancients would put 4 candles there, one to the north, to the south, to the east, and to the west. 1 candle for your room will be sufficient. Switch off any light, as that's generated by electricity, and it could disrupt the abundance of natural energy flowing through your room and here. Now, what you have to do, and I'm about to do that now, is stand in the centre of the room. Hang on, I'm just getting off my little plinthy kind of place. Stand in the centre of your room, head bowed, and say a silent prayer of respect to all those that have passed over. Visualise the person who you most wish to contact and speak to them of why it's important to you. I know it may seem a strange thing to do, as if you're talking to yourself, but you're not. Why would you like to see this person again? Why are they so important to you? Getting bangs and crashes and creaks here. A lot of them as well. Bit of whispering the far side. Speak from your heart to theirs, of things that you need to communicate to them, the things you need from them. Spend a minute remembering all you can about that person, the essence of what made them special, for that will still exist within their energy. With your eyes closed, picture their face, their mannerisms, and recall things that you've shared together, a time when you laughed or cried together. Getting banging again. This is to reawaken and re-strengthen the emotional ties that you still share. They can't be broken, not even across time or space. It's now time for you to offer a token of your love and remembrance, either in the form of a flower freshly cut or a coin. Place it next to the candle. This represents your way ahead and your future without those that fate has dictated that you leave behind as they travel to new journeys and new adventures on the other side. Now, if the room is prepared and the candle safely lit, the tributes placed next to it, stand in the centre of the room. All electrical apparatus in the room should be switched off to avoid noises being misconstrued. And with eyes closed, you should turn clockwise twice. Then stand still without finding... Heard a noise and I kind of felt something. Just knocked me off my balance there. And I'm standing kind of feet apart like you would in the middle of the room. Right. Eyes closed. You've turned clockwise twice. Then stand still without finding out which direction you're facing. Keep your eyes closed. And then you repeat a very simple ritual that is said to beckon spirit close to you. Remember, you'll usually only catch a fleeting glimpse of spirit, but enough to prove conclusively to you that there is much that cannot be easily explained. Focus, concentrate, and seek into the darkness, and let your heart swell in knowing the truth that we do go on and survive death. Keep your eyes tightly closed. Physically feel your lids, keeping out any vestige of light. This will help you see clearly when you open only one eye. Make sure you only open the eye that will be able to see in the mirror. Put the mirror in place and remember not to scan the room before you look in that mirror. The looking glass. Truth. So with your eyes... repeat after me. Blessings to the north, south, east and west. We honour your memory. We ask for your sign. We offer you nature's perfect flower or a coin, tokens of our undying love in your darkest hour, though its sacred petals may brown and wither. May this, my love for you, live on forever. Now open that single eye and seek, and you will find. I'm doing it. My mirror's very small. Getting grey shadows. Grey shadows to my right-hand side. 1, 2, 3. 3. Moving to my right-hand side. Scan. You've got to be able to tell the difference between just kind of candle reflection and things that move independent to that reflection. He was getting banging before. I was getting all kinds of noises when we were kind of building up to this. And things are kind of... there's another one. Things are kind of quietening down. Or getting... Listen. Oh, voices, clear, but not more than whispering. Say that again. Repeat. I'm getting swirling around me. Swirling, I'm feeling very sick. I'm feeling very sick, and I'm getting a swirling kind of noise. Oh, something's scraping across the floor. This isn't... Not happy. Whoa, 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 whoa. Show yourself. Stop this. Yes, okay. Yes, I feel ill. Yes, I feel sick. Okay. Very clever. Getting noises. Getting noises behind me. You must be able to pick that up as well. Talk about busy. I think so. Just heard something like a bell ring or some kind of tinging noise. I don't think there's anything remotely kind of ringy in here, in this place. Oh, we're getting all kinds here. We are getting absolutely all kinds. And if you're not picking it up at home, you're thinking I'm mad round about now. Whoa. That sounded like it was outside the door. I'm going across to the door. Alan Robson with you. As you can tell by the cavernous tones, I am in a tomb. I've travelled a fair way for this. For those of you that have been with us from the very beginning, you've heard the story of this place, how outside the hall at the top of the land here, through the woods that we had to come through, we've ended up with a place that's stained, where there's 6 people committed suicide, 1 was murdered. And I've just got thinking, there's this. It's an empty wooden coffin, and it's on a shelf. To my right-hand side, there are 3 stone tombs. To my right-hand side, there's 3 other stone tombs. Directly ahead of me is the wooden coffin. The wooden coffin, this is it, of Abraham. Abraham, please don't knock back. And then there's this, an open wooden coffin with shrouds. You heard me kind of toying with the shrouds before. Well, I think I'm actually going to get in here. Imagine if I taunted whatever's here by just straightforward getting it, because there's no lid on it. So all you got to do is kind of eat yourself up onto the shelf. Right, I'm kind of lying on the shelf, and now if I roll forward, put my leg over it, and right, I got one knee in, roll across. And good God. Oh, right. That's just me lying down. Bit squeaky, but here I am. I cross my hands on my chest. The present man I could do with the rest. And that was me. Just pulling my foot down into it, and oh dear, getting a little bit of noise outside. I don't know whether you heard that. Listen, are you getting that? Listen. That's not me. Listen. Getting a few whispers in the distance. Look, I've given you all the time in the world to show yourself. What are you so frightened of? Don't be cowardly. Oh, that's not me. Oh dear. I got one hand holding the microphone here. This is the other one, listen. I can hear bagging. Oh, good grief, look at that. It's not the coffin that it's touching. I don't know what it's banging, but Come on, then. We want proof tonight. As if we haven't had that. Come on, then, say something to me. Let me see you clearly. How many of you are there? Is it you, Philip? Is it you? Is it Philip? Hello, Philip. It is you, Philip, isn't it? 12-year-old. Did you die when you were 12, Philip? Just make a noise and I'll know that's a yes. Did you die when you were 12, Philip? Did you want to die? Everybody said that when you leapt off that roof that you wanted to die, that you were smiling all the way down. Did you want to die, Philip? Oh my God. Why are you still here, Philip? You don't have to stay here. Not in this awful place. Why would you want to stay here? We don't want to hurt you. It's just time for you. I'm going to sit. I don't want to see. Hang on. Oh, good. Oh, getting lots of bangs and noises. Most of them coming from my bones, I think. Okay. I can now... My little light's still on. I can see around... I can see around the room. I can see around the room. Can't see you, though, Philip. Where are you? Philip, let me see you, Philip. Come on. Come on, Philip. Let me see you. You still here? Are you still here, Philip? I'll take that as a yes. If you want to move on, I can help you. I can help you do that. But if there's others, you should bring them all together. You should gather them all round. You don't have to stay. I've just heard a kind of a strange noise there. Getting a kind of crinkling kind of. Don't know whether you're getting that. Not much air in my lungs at the minute. Come on, Philip. Come on. Why don't you speak to me, Philip? Why don't you just say something? Show yourself to me. Can you make yourself be seen? Can you make yourself... Oh, damn. Philip, if that's you, that's really not nice. My nose is bleeding. Shit, hang on. Oh, God. Philip, if that was you, that really wasn't necessary. Don't want to hurt you. Oh, hang on. Only thing I can use is my t-shirt. And it's obviously my Terry Butcher moment. Oh, God, I'll hold my head back. There's no need for this. No need for it. Hang on. Oh, God. Okay. Don't want to make you uncomfortable. Don't want you to feel uncomfortable. Don't want you to feel uncomfortable at all. It's not necessary. It's not necessary. Oh, God. Hold my head back a little bit. The silence is... There seems to be kind of like a high-pitched noise. I don't know whether you're getting that at home. I hope you are. Philip, are you still here? Are you still here, Philip? Are you still here, Philip? We need to know if you're still here. Was that you? Was that you, Philip? Come on, son. Philip. Philip. Jeez. Okay. And Sean asked the same question again. That bang was so loud, the echoes just kind of raced around this room. Maybe getting in a coffin wasn't the best idea in the world. Hang on, let's... This is just... Gonna scrunch myself up and... just down off the shelf. Okay. We're here for you, you know, Philip. We're here just to help. We're here to do whatever we can. Come back to me. I've got an idea. Come back to me in 2 minutes. 2 minutes, not much longer. You're with Alan Robson. And I've just had an amazing experience. I don't know whether you would consider that it was some form of communication, but I just feel that I'm making some sort of headway here. So I had planned while I was in here, because you've already got mirrors in all of your houses, that we would do something that's very famous on the Night Owls programme. We would do one of our versions of a looking glass invocation. All you need is a photograph of the person that you wish to contact. Take a photograph out of a famous person, go to a drawer, find it, pull out that photograph. Maybe you've got a photograph in a frame of somebody in your house. Would you like to make some kind of link, like I think I may have had? They're just messing with me now. I'm getting all kinds to my right-hand side. But if you want to make contact with somebody who's passed over, or merely you want to feel closer to that person, get a photograph of that person, place it on a table in front of a mirror, make sure it looks upside down to you, but the reflection in the mirror in front of you makes it look as if the mirror has swallowed the picture, and it displays it as it should be seen, the right way up. So you lie the picture flat, upside down to you, but in the mirror it looks the right way up. Make sure your phones are switched off and there's no distractions to a cemetery that dates back to the 1700s, when miniature portraits were used for this purpose. Listen to this. Not now. I'm not going to be pestered by you, okay? You wouldn't come out when I wanted you. I'm going to ignore you now. Firstly, I need you to look into the photograph. Focus in on what the essence of that special person was. What time you shared together. What made you both laugh together. And why your love was so strong with them. Stare into the photograph and feel them with you. The fact that you still hold them in your heart's proof they didn't die. They live on through you. And it's said that this ceremony will bring you a sign within 24 hours that will be clear and easily understood. Apparitions have been known to appear and households completely disrupted. Be aware of this, although it may only last for a single day. But be sure that you want it. Be sure that this is what you want. If you have any reservations at all, do not take part in it. The room should be dim with a candle behind the mirror, allowing most of your room to be in shadow. Did you hear that? It was like a face being slapped, and it wasn't mine. So the room's in shadow. You've got that candle on again. Take great care to make sure the candle can't set fire to anything whilst it's temporarily being used. The photograph looks dark in the gloomy reflection to symbolise the obscure other side of the curtain. Stare at that photograph, at the face of the person who you love so much. Hear their voice speaking gently to you. Let your heart tell them how much you love and miss them. All this is done without saying a word. In your head, focus on that special soul and send your energy towards it, and a reaction will occur. If you're in front of a much bigger mirror now, that's perfectly fine. The bigger the better, as long as you can see the whole room behind you in that mirror. But look at the photograph. Feel that person with you. Smell them, sense them, and some of you will clearly see. Now, close your eyes and repeat after me. Home of shadows, home of eternal night, let the dusty years past be gone in the blink of an eye, for we two are now one. Close your eyes tightly, using all of the muscles in your face to seal them shut. Place your arms out to either side of you. Hold your palms upwards. Feel that chill climb your body all the way up to the top of your head. Feel that incredible tingle as spirit passes through you. Feel the emotions and the love merge within your own spirit. Some of you may be a bit frightened, but let it happen. And don't open your eyes yet. Picture that face in the photograph, that person with whom you are now psychically linked, and let your mind tell them all you seek to communicate. Your head may briefly ache, but that headache will pass quickly. It's merely a sign that you're using a part of your mind that you're not used to accessing. Some of you may have felt movement across your palms, perhaps odd noises, but let none of this frighten you, for this is what you sought. Stay in that position as long as you need to send and receive. Now, this is very important. When I tell you to open your eyes, it's quite likely that you will be able to see other energies around your home for a brief moment before the link dissipates. It'll only be a glimpse for energies around us all the time. Fleeting shadows will soon disappear, but be ready and expect there to be some movement. If you don't wish to see, keep your eyes looking directly up. Then, finally, as I recite the closing, tighten your eyes even more, and when I finish and say amen, you repeat just the amen. Only open your eyes when you do, and although your room is in semi-darkness, some of you may see a bright white flash. This is normal. Let it not concern you. Zabin, Nezaza, Sentaba, Kotere, Komeum. Amen. Open your eyes. I was getting the life or the death pested out of me there. I'm feeling stuff across my body. I even question all of that. Just lost in a moment, but an amazing moment. So, did you get anything? Did you see anything? Over the next few nights on Night Owls, we want you to ring in and tell me anything that you've experienced. If you pick up noises, if you heard anything while I've been in this place. Listen. It's like I'm being followed. Now, the last thing that I have to do is carry out an exorcism. That's the main reason that I'm here. You know that others have tried and failed, so listen. Can't say this place isn't busy. Okay. Right, we're going to see you on your way. We're going to see you on your way next. Come back to me in a few seconds. I've got to get a few items out my bag. And then we're going to hopefully help as best we can. Alan Robson with you from a dark place. You with Alan Robson. Now, since I started getting the various tools of the craft out, I've been getting a lot more noise and a lot more activity and a lot of dusty kind of swirling around and footsteps, and we've had a few whispers too. The canon from the church who came here, who was unable to do anything about moving on what was on the land outside. He uses, obviously, Christian techniques, and in most cases, especially in Britain, Christian techniques are exactly what it is that you need. But he said that the things outside were not responding to that, so we're going to try an ancient pagan ritual and see how this works. And I've got a variety of things. We've got a thames and beautiful chalice here. Hang on. put that there. And then we have the white handle dagger. But we're going to start to do this. Now, this is very, very old. For those of you who don't believe in the power of prayer, or for those of you who don't believe in ritual or any of that kind of thing, that's fair enough. I didn't for most of my life, but some things allow things to happen, and this just happens to be one of the most effective. Now, if you have something in your home, if you turn this up to a reasonable volume, this may just help you by perhaps moving things on from what's there. Even if you're not sure that you've got things around your home, this may just help give you a degree of peace. And we shall see. Oh, interesting. We shall see what happens. We're getting lots of bangs and right on cue. At the present moment, I'm sitting cross-legged on the floor. I've got various things that I've brought with me that are needed for this, and they're all pretty much in place. Now, don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to try my best to give help and to clear this place. Now, you might think, why would you want to clear a tomb? If you're going to have ghosts anywhere, have them in a tomb. Well, it's just they're not staying there, are they? They're going all over the place and they're spoiling the land outside. Okay. And let's just see if we can do anything about it. Fire, water, earth, sky, and spirit. We're about to begin. I invoke thee and call upon all souls, bringers of life, yet seekers in death. By stem and bud, listen, leaf and flower, fruit with flesh, blood with bone, I invoke thee to bless this rite. I demand you honor it with respect and with the power of righteousness. I stand firm behind it. Your breath is my life. Speak within me, move through me. I stand before you alone, between the world of men and the next realm. Open your soul to my blessing. I anoint myself from the sacred chalice. I consecrate myself with my lips. I carry with me the tools of my sacred art. I have the power to dominate and subdue. Set yourselves free of this place. Feel my strength in the heart of your world. Sincere and good, I now rule your circle. With a Thamian blade, with wand and cup, I drink to thee in honour of all you did in life, but curse what you have done in death. I sprinkle at your feet my tribute to you. I take up the scourge sign of all power and dominion. I give you purification and enlightenment. With my sacred and blessed cord, I bind thee to this deathly promise. I give you this circle of rebirth. This I seal with all that has been entrusted to me. Be gone, Be gone. Be gone. Hear ye, mighty ones of the north and south and east and west. I am Robson, consecrated and chosen one of the ancients. Be gone, or let me know thy intention now. Blessings be, blessings be, blessings be. Listen to this. And it's gone. Well, I feel all right about that. It's a time when you have to be a little careful and just let things be, fall into a new way of being. No idea whether this has been completely successful, or I heard so many noises building up, it was promising. But I'm hearing nothing now. I'm hearing complete quiet. Unless you at home are getting... You shouldn't be getting anything either. Hopefully. That's it. I could sleep for England at the minute. I'm completely drained. It's been a long day, just getting here and getting ready and checking with a few people who live nearabouts, and obviously talking to the family on the phone. And it's an amazing story, the one of this family. And now we're into the day of their 7th year. 6.5 years out of the 7 this place has been for sale. I would love to think in 2 or 3 months' time they've taken the sign down and can use this as a proper family home. Time will tell. Now, even though I'm in a filthy, coffin-filled tomb, I'm just going to hang here for a little while, just to try and make sure that everything's in place and that things have sort of worked out. I'm also going to pack up my various tools and put myself together, and in the next 15 to 20 minutes I'll be... spider climbing across me there, just a little baby one. Don't bring your relatives. And in places like this, you can never be really sure. I just want to say a sincere thank you to everybody who has come along with me tonight. I tell you, it does make things so much easier for me, knowing that there's so many of you out there by my side, in my back seat, supporting everything. This is the only show of its kind that does anything remotely like this, as you know. We're a flagship, and it gives us great responsibility to try and give you a flavour of what else is out there. If you've been with me from the very beginning, you will have experienced, hopefully, all, if not most of what I've experienced tonight, and we've had all kinds. And that's it. I hope you've had some kind of experience remotely like mine tonight. Until we're back together again, from me, Alan Robson, good night, God bless you, and I wish you well.